Hello and welcome to episode 16 of the Fourmation Podcast. Today is our last episode of this series. As we said last week, we're going to call this Series 1. But yeah, this is the last episode. It's been a long journey, but it's kept us entertained during lockdown, giving us something to do. Hopefully it's kept you entertained at home as well, or maybe not at home, maybe on a train or in a car or just wherever you're watching or listening. Thank you, whether you watch one episode or all of them. Thank you for joining us. We do intend on doing another of these at some point in September when we move back to university. It would be really good to get your feedback prior to that next series. Let us know what you like about what we've done, but also things we could add in and improve on. You can find us on Twitter at @_Fourmation or on Facebook. Just type in the Fourmation. Sorry, it's all a bit full on at the start, but I thought if I don't say it now, then I'll just forget at the end. But anyway, we will get into it. It's going to be a bit more of a laid back episode today. So for the last time in a long time, I'll say I'm George, and today I'm joined by
Harry,
Sam,
and Devon again.
Yeah, Devon is back this week. He's found somewhere with Wi-Fi. You might notice that his backdrop is a little bit different. You're at your auntie's, aren't you, Devon?
I've got a perfectly placed window ledge that I can put my iPad on rather than getting two tables on top of each other and about 5 things to hold it up.
He didn't want to miss this week's episode because, of course, at the end we have the big finale to the quiz. You can see Harry's feeling the nerves there. I think you're all feeling the nerves a little bit.
I don't know about nerves. It looks like when you said laid back, I think he took it literally and just like, right, okay, that's it. That's me done.
Yeah, it is still all to play for, and we have 10 questions this week rather than the normal 5. I did say last week if anyone would rather we stick to 5, then let us know. No one got in touch, so we're going to go. We're going to go with all 10.
But thank you once again for spoiling
it. So if I got I'd have requested 25 just to make sure that I could try and get any sort of lead back.
The whole episode's a quiz.
JJ helped you out last week, Devon, and
thanks, Jack.
Thankful to him for that. So you are still in it, and I should say there are 16 points up for grabs, a maximum of 16. So still all to play for, as I said. But yeah, it's going to be a more laid back episode this week. It's kind of the end of the season. The Champions League is still going, but the league season is over. So we're going to reflect. We're going to give out some generic awards of ours, the Fourmation Awards. That sounds really, I don't know, really cliched. But we're also going to give some out which are hopefully different from what you might have seen elsewhere. And then we'll aim to come to a decision on each award. And then we'll have our Fourmation Awards, the first ever Fourmation Awards. So if any of these players are watching, then what an honour.
We'll send you your award in the post.
Once we think of what to make the award. I should think, this is the first time I've thought of it. I should have really come up with a prize for the quiz, but maybe we'll sort something out at a later date. We don't know who's won it yet anyway. We will start with the more generic ones, though, as I said. So player of the season is the first one you think of when it comes to awards. We will start with the Premier League player of the season. So we'll all kind of give at least one nomination, but feel free to throw in as many as you want. I will go to Harry first. Harry, who do you think deserves to be the Premier League player of the season?
I'm going to say Kevin De Bruyne. Shall I give an explanation, or are we going through everyone's first? I think Kevin De Bruyne, a lot of people have said Jordan Henderson, but I think Kevin De Bruyne is probably the most irreplaceable player in the Premier League, or at least for Manchester City. I look at Jordan Henderson. One, he's not the best in the league, but two, I could probably see a lot of midfielders in the league filling in his role, and Liverpool still winning the league. So I can't see anyone, not in the league, but in world football, doing what De Bruyne's done. 20 assists, a hat full of goals as well. And without them, they might not even finish second. They might have been even further.
Devon, you're nodding your head there as if you're in agreement. But are you thinking elsewhere for this award?
No, I'm thinking, I were thinking Jordan Henderson at first, but then, like Harry said, it's not the best story of the season, it's the best player of the season. And yeah, I've also gone for Kevin De Bruyne, as I'm pretty sure, a lot of people are going to go for. I think Henderson, even though he's been, the real tick in that midfield for Liverpool, Kevin De Bruyne has just been amazing. He's 20 assists equaling Thierry Henry's record in 2002-03 season, and he's also got 13 goals to his name. He's taking 3.7, making 3.7 chances per game, which is a whole 1.1 more than anyone in the league. And I think it's either James Maddison or Jack Grealish is the next one. And I think he's a level above a lot of other players in the league. It's his best season to date for Manchester City, and you've got to think, when I was thinking about the player of the season as well. And I forgot about last season with De Bruyne's 2 ligament injuries, and he's come back from, because they are pretty serious injuries. He's come back from 2 big injuries, and he's come to have his best season. And I think if it weren't for a formidable Liverpool side that just looked completely unstoppable at times, Man City would have, got the 3rd one in a row.
Sam, what are your thoughts on this? I personally feel like I'll come on to the player I'm nominating in a minute, but I personally feel like Liverpool dominated the league, and we've had 2 out of 4 suggestions already that aren't Liverpool players.
Yeah.
How are you feeling about this one?
I mean, it is hard to argue with Kevin De Bruyne, but there are obviously a lot of players in that Liverpool team that deserve to be in with a shout. Obviously, Jordan Henderson has already been mentioned. Sadio Mane, who has probably performed the best this season out of that amazing front 3. So, yeah, there's definitely got to be at least some Liverpool players that you consider for this award. But I think what's been so good about Liverpool's season is it's been a team effort all the way. Everyone's been pulling their weight in that team. I think that's why maybe people haven't focused on the performances of individuals in that team. But I knew Kevin De Bruyne would be a name that was mentioned a lot in this award, so I've picked someone who's flown under the radar a little bit. He is still in the shortlist, the official shortlist for the Premier League Player of the Year, and it's Nick Pope, the Burnley goalkeeper. Obviously, it's been a brilliant season for him. 15 clean sheets only. Ederson did better with 1 more, but he's made 120 saves, which is 52 more than Ederson. And he's helped Burnley to another top half finish who've not had the easiest ride this season with all the issues they've had. So he's had a magnificent effort this season to take Burnley where they are this season. I think he definitely deserves to be in consideration for that England number 1 spot.
And you would have to say as well that Burnley have kind of been blessed with goalkeepers when they've ever been in the Premier League. Tom Heaton as well is a pretty solid goalkeeper. We know he went to Villa and injury struck in the end, and they also had Joe Hart, which maybe didn't go so well, but he was quickly moved out of the team because of the strength of their keeper. So I definitely think Pope was a worthy nominee. I think it's a good idea to have a keeper in there purely because that position,
they're underappreciated.
Yeah,
sure.
You always associate the Ballon d'Or, and keepers will always say we're never mentioned in that discussion. So I think
and you feel like the only time keepers are actually discussed in length is when they make mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
When in Nick Pope's case, all season he's not put a foot wrong, so he definitely deserves to be mentioned.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a fair shout. Before I give mine, I just want to ask Harry. Another player who has been in the mix is Danny Ings, and I was thinking that you might mention him. Do you think he's obviously going to be Southampton's Player of the Year, or you would think so? But do you think he stands any chance of winning the award for the league?
I mean, if he was the top goal scorer, but if he took penalties, he did take 2, missed 1, scored 1. But if he took the other 3 and was able to bag them and got him on 25 goals, maybe, but not quite. He's not quite at the level of the Kevin De Bruynes and stuff like that, quite obviously. But I think it's good for him and good for us as a club to finally have a player that's shown that he can be that good, because we've not had that in a very long time. It's certainly going to put his name on the shop window, whether he A wants to go or B gets offers from the Arsenals, the other teams that need strikers. But it's always good to see those lower league teams, not lower league, lower of the table teams like Southampton, like Burnley, get those nominations, because it does show that, you know, not only the top six have players that have good seasons.
So we've obviously had 2 mentions for De Bruyne and then 1 for Pope as well. And you mentioned Henderson. I personally do think that he deserves to win the Player of the Year, Jordan Henderson, the winner of the Football Writers Association Award as well. I think what makes me think this the most is because he's had so much pressure on him since Stevie G left, and so much expectation. I think he's finally hit the heights over the last couple of years that people have been waiting for. It's taken him a while, but I do think he is Liverpool's driving force from midfield. And I think we saw in the small period when he was out through injury that they really struggled without his influence and his leadership. And I like players like Fabinho and Wijnaldum, but I think Henderson gives them maybe a bit more bite. And I think he should be up there, but I am more than happy to also concede that De Bruyne could maybe win this one. So if we've got 2 votes, is that what we're leaning towards? That it should be De Bruyne?
I think so. Yeah, he's just so good.
Yeah. I think, like I said, I think we being player of the season, it's not just how good he is, or how, you know, like you said with Henderson, his story. He's actually got the stats to back it up, and if even he kind of goes under radar sometimes. I think we just take him for what he is and don't really look in depth to his. I've got a couple of moments on here where he features. One in particular for what we'll get on to in a bit, but he just epitomises the style of play in the Premier League, and I think with the stats being behind him, it's just it's a joy to watch, and he takes responsibility for that City side, and it's probably the driving force of why they've been so dominant in the last couple of years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I've just bolded Kevin De Bruyne's name on my Word document here, so we will give that award.
I thought you were engraving it in there.
We can do that too if you want. If anyone wants to fund some trophies, then
we'll have to put one next to the shop out way to uni.
And now we can see Kevin accepting his award.
Okay, so the second award we're going to do is the same award, but for the Championship, the second tier. Last year, this was dominated by Norwich players as we won the league. Timu Pukki took this trophy last year, but who is going to win it this year? Before I ask you for your nominations, are we agreed that this should go to a player from the top 4 clubs?
Minus the top 1. So
the top 1.
Oh, okay.
Because I kind of feel, maybe this is wrong of me to say, but I feel as if that top 4 were fairly separate from the rest, and then the playoffs was just anyone's fight. So yeah, we will now have some nominations, and I will go to Devon first on this one.
Well, I don't think you can look further than Stephen Fletcher. I'm joking. Okay, that's interesting if you're not wanting, because my player of the year was someone who I feel like the other suggestions are going to be more opponent forward players, but I've gone for Leeds United. Leeds United centre half, Ben White. I think his influence on loan and his first, it's his first season at Championship level. It's been a massive impact for him. He's shown how good he is and how many, he's beyond his years in terms of stature and his reading of the game. He came in to ultimately replace Pontus Jansson, who had shown good leadership skills and, kind of epitomised what Leeds United were. However, we've seen especially last year and this year, there's been kind of similarities where he's been solid, but when it's come to the crunch, he's crumbled. Whether that be at Leeds last year with the Derby incident or this year with Brentford. He's got, Leeds have got 21 clean sheets this year and conceded 35 goals, which is the lowest in the division. And I think due to, Leeds have leaked a lot of goals in recent years, and it seems like him and Cooper have just come together really well, and he's got a lot of praise, and that's ultimately why Leeds are preparing, to go 30 million upwards to get him back at Ellen Road.
Yeah. And do you think we've seen a lot of talk in the last few weeks about the Free Ben White campaign on Twitter? The Leeds fans are desperate for him to join them for Brighton. Surely that proves just how influential he has been and how popular he is with the Leeds fans.
We know what Leeds are like. You've got their history and rise is based on, like important players in that period. We've seen, especially this season, the passings of the likes of Norman Hunter, Trevor Cherry, and Jack Charlton. Them kind of players are, ultimately legends, and even the likes of Jermaine Beckford are still highly regarded for moments, and I'm sure players like Calvin Phillips definitely deserves a mention for his kind of. But again, that's probably like a bit like Jordan Henderson in that respect, because his story from going from a really kind of average player in midfield who ultimately gave the ball away quite a lot to somebody who's been steady. Bar that Cardiff mistake, he's been very steady this season, and ultimately in that Bielsa unorthodox system has made him tick. But I think Ben White, with him, his influence on the Leeds fans, for him to go off like that, it's clear to see.
I think it's interesting as well that for a team who are winning the championship, you normally expect it all to be about their attack. But I suppose Leeds have built their foundations well. Yeah. And we know Patrick Bamford, although he had a good season, he's maybe not a prolific striker. So I don't think he's really in this discussion. Maybe I'm wrong. If there's a Leeds fan watching who thinks I'm wrong, then be sure to say. I'll go to Sam next. Did you say you've got a Leeds player as well, Sam?
Yes, and it was exactly the same player that Devon has.
Sorry, Sam.
He's just talked to him for 5 minutes. So I have actually nothing that he hasn't already said. I'd have to agree, definitely, that's been the difference between last season and this season for Leeds, and that partnership that Ben White has formed with Liam Cooper has taken them that extra mile.
So sorry, boys. I'm shutting the window, so it's not as loud.
You've mentioned Ben White again there, so we will just discuss him a bit more. I've seen links between him and Chelsea as well, and a whole host of clubs. Do you think it is best for him now that he goes to Leeds, or I don't know, carries on at Brighton? But what do you think? Do you think it's best that now that he's built the momentum at Leeds, that's where he goes?
I think Leeds would be the best place for him. It's as we've clearly seen on Twitter with the hashtag, obviously, the Leeds fans obviously appreciate him. Mm-hmm. And why wouldn't they? Most interceptions in the league, 110, 21 clear of the next best. So it clearly shows how effective he is as a defender, and he's got age on his side. So if Leeds can get him for a good price, then he could go on to be a great player for them in the Premier League.
Yeah, and Harry, have you got someone else, or are you sticking with the league leaders? Or are you?
I'm gonna change it up a bit. It was between two players. I wasn't quite sure which one I was going to go for, but in the end, I went for Saïd Benrahma. 17 goals, 9 assists. That's almost a third of Brentford's goals. I think he had the most shots per game, I think with 3.8. Second or third most dribbles. Was in the top 10 for key passes. And without Brentford bottling it against Stoke and Barnsley at the end of the season, if they won one of those games, they would have got promoted. So apart from those final two games, all the way up from that point, Benrahma had a phenomenal season. And probably the playoff final, we could have done a lot better as well. But I think he's just had a fantastic season. I think he's probably, at the moment, now Leeds, West Brom and Fulham have gone up. He's probably the most sought-after championship player that there's almost not ever been, but it's going to be one of the highest ever valued ones.
Yeah, I have to agree, Harry. I also have Benrahma written down. So it's a 2v2 on this one. As you mentioned, his impressive stats, but I also think his versatility is something which you cannot ignore, how he can play on any side of kind of a three in behind. He can also play up front, of course, and I think it's no surprise given how good Brentford have looked going forward, but also how good how much Ben Rama has stood out. And that goal he scored at Derby, I think, will maybe bring that into the equation when we talk about goals a bit later. But that was seriously impressive. So, yeah, I think Ben Rama needs to be up there. Some other players I've got written down. There's Mateus Pereira of West Brom, who has been their standout man and has got them out of a lot of difficult situations. Mitrovic at Fulham as well, although I do think with Fulham, the fact that they came through the playoffs pretty much without Mitrovic. I know he featured in the playoff final, but other than that, he was barely used. So fair play to the rest of the Fulham team. That was very much a team effort, as we said, with Liverpool's title win. So, yeah, and Ollie Watkins, too, has also been up there, and there's another who's been touted with a move. So it's 2v2. How are we going to resolve
Consistency wins for me. Yeah. And Ben White has been the more consistent player, played every single minute for Leeds this season. And, yeah.
He hasn't gone missing, like Ben Rama has in the last, 4 of the last 5 games.
If you're scared of doing rock, paper, scissors, then I'm more than happy to give it to Ben White.
We back up
North wins.
The argument.
I do think the fact that Leeds won the league as clearly as they did, and the fact that, as you said, Brentford, they did bottle it in the end. They had so many chances, games. They only needed to win 1 of 3 decisive games. They didn't manage it. So I'm happy for it to go to Ben White. But I think
the playoff final, with it being late on 1-0 against Fulham, that's when you want Ben Rama to step up, and he didn't. I think that's where, as much as he is a fantastic player, and he really is a fantastic player, that's where he still has to improve, and that's where Ben White pips in for me.
But I do think both players will be in the Premier League next year. I think that's Ben Rama could stick around, but I think it's likely that he leaves. So that's the 2 Player of the Year ones done. They are probably a bit more generic. But we'll move on now to ones which are maybe there's more options. So it'll be interesting to see which players are suggested. First of all, biggest flop. So this can be a player, it can be a new signing, but it can also be a player who's maybe impressed in previous years and has just not been up to it this year. Whatever you've got, it doesn't matter. So I don't think I've gone to Sam first yet, so I'll do that now.
It's not so nice awards to be handing out, but my pick is Mr. Joe Linton for Newcastle. You could argue he's a victim of the very defensive Steve Bruce system. The 5-4-1 and the 4-5-1, whatever you want to call it. But just 2 Premier League goals all season, massively struggled, I think. And for that £40 million fee that was placed on him, a club record, I believe, he's got to be within consideration.
Well, I think when it comes down to the vote, I don't think Devon can back this one because he did, of course, score against Sheffield United. So if you're slagging him off, then I won't be impressed. Harry, who are you thinking for this one?
I was going to say Joe Linton for his goal contribution levels next to Nathan Ake, but I'm going to change it up. And I'm going to go for Ryan Fraser after a really impressive season last year where he got over 20 goals and assists combined, I believe anyway. He completely dropped off the sides. He's touted with moves at Arsenal and Tottenham, and now it's Crystal Palace and West Brom because 1 goal and 2 assists or something horrendous like that. The whole front 3 dropped off, and it was probably due to Ryan Fraser not being at the level he was last season. That inevitably caused Bournemouth's relegation. So for me, it's going to be Ryan Fraser because he just didn't live up to the levels that he did last season, not even close.
Yeah, Fraser, again, he's definitely a candidate for this award. It's not really an award, is it? It's not an accolade. It's just...
No one goes for this at the start of the season. But...
No one wants it. Devon, which player are you going to nominate?
Well, you said that about him scoring against United, and I did have him as my backup one just in case someone didn't say him. But I've gone for a really out there choice. I've gone for former England number 1, Jack Butland, and how incredibly bad he's been this season. Not just, I think the first, Stoke were really struggling under Nathan Jones, and I think they were bottom at one point, and Jack Butland's just, he seems to like he's lost his wrists. He's making mistake after mistake. He's got the second lowest save percentage in the Championship at 56%, which that is second to any goalkeeper that's made over 20 appearances, and just his mistakes have cost Stoke, and it's been a real tough job for Michael O'Neill to steer him out of that the rut that they were in and away from League One. And I think another one that epitomises that, even when last season when he got relegated with Stoke, it was still fit in favour with Gareth Southgate, and now the emergence of Nick Pope, the emergence of Dean Henderson, even Aaron Ramsdale have gone miles ahead of him at the minute, and there's just downward spiral in his career. You got to think as well, at the start of the season they turned down 30 million from Aston Villa for him, and I don't think they're going to get 3 million at the minute.
Mm-hmm. No,
Shout.
that was one that I hadn't thought of, but as you said, when they first went down, there were so many teams linked with him, Premier League teams and quite high Premier League teams. But as you said, I don't think there's going to be anyone after him at the moment. In terms of the ones I've got written down, I've got a fair few that haven't been mentioned. It's maybe easier for me to say, but Josip Drmic for Norwich, we signed him last year. He scored 3 goals, only one of which coming in the league. All of them were tap-ins. I know that a tap-in's still a goal, but his job this year was to provide decent backup to Pukki, and he was far from decent. He was lazy and just terrible, and I can't wait for him to leave. Let's hope he does. Sorry, that's
you're
really,
right, George.
That's
George.
Just to be more impartial.
Do you want to take a break just to go out and breathe a second?
I've also got Dominic Solanke written down. He joined Bournemouth for 20 million. I think he deserves to be in there. Only scored 3 goals, and it took him a while, let's be honest. Another one is João Cancelo, maybe, who joined Man City for a hefty amount. It was a swap deal for Danilo, but I think it was worth about 60 million. He only played
I think there is a player in there, though, and I think towards the end of the season, he did show glimpses of what he could be, especially behind closed doors. I don't know what happened at the start of the season, though.
Yeah, I think you're right. I don't think he's up in contention, but I think City.
I think it's just the price tag that you mentioned that people, put him down.
But the one I'm going to nominate is actually a player who played for West Ham, and that was their goalkeeper Roberto. If you remember, they signed him last May, and Fabianski got injured in September, which meant he went in. He made 10 appearances, and he was dreadful. It seemed like he made a mistake every time you watched him play, and he actually got loaned out in January, which was not a surprise. They had to get rid of him, but that's the one I'm going for, because I think it was David Martin, wasn't it, the veteran, who got picked ahead of him. So that kind of summed it up for me. But that's who I'm nominating for it.
It's a good one.
That was a good outside shout.
Who
do we think? I think a lot of you mentioned Joe Linton. So do you think
one thing with Joe Linton though is that he came from a very positive counter-attacking style at Hoffenheim under Julian Nagelsmann, who's obviously at Leipzig now, and now he's come to Newcastle, who's probably the most negative football team in the world at the moment. So I think he's struggled to adjust to that system, and you can't really blame him the way they play. So I think he's got that going for him.
Also, I don't
completely agree. Sorry, go on, Harry.
So I think when we talk about biggest flop, it's normally unexpected. But I think when he came in, everyone was sort of expecting, because of Sam's reasoning, that he's going from that system to somewhere where he's always going to be isolated, or at least at the start of the season, he's normally isolated. And I think at the end, after the restart, he didn't do too bad. He got he got a goal, but his hold-up play was certainly improved from what it was. And he had actually supportive figures in Almiron and St Maximin. So as much as I'd want to say Joe Linton, it was also not a shock when I saw that he finished the season with 2 goals.
I like the Roberto shout.
Yeah.
I really like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
as well.
Right,
That's three of you all nodding your heads at me through my screen. So
So he was that bad that they had to get rid of
after
him.
10 appearances.
are you happy for me to?
Yeah.
Yeah, you put that in bold. You put that in
You
bold.
can get that.
Congratulations.
What do I say?
That prestigious accolade goes to Roberto. Okay, next one. Surprise package. This can be a player or a team. And it's a positive surprise. Well, maybe not in Devon's case, one team. But we'll go to Harry first.
Surprise package. For some reason, I didn't put on my notes, so I'll have a think, and I'll get. Do you know what? I'm just going to go biased. I'm going to go Danny Ings. You know, he scored 22 goals. I wasn't expecting him to stay fit for the entirety of the season. He did. Not single-handedly kept us up because we did beat Crystal Palace and Chelsea away with Michael Obafemi and Che Adams up front. So it wasn't just single-handedly, but I think he's one of the first players for us to score in over 20 games as well. Never really scored a brace. Scored once at least. Normally, and I think he kept Saints well out of danger.
Yeah, I think that's a decent shout. Actually, we obviously mentioned him in Player of the Year, which shows you just how much he has come to the fore this year. Sam, who are you going for?
I did also have Danny Ings written down, but I also thought Adama Traore as well with Wolves. So I think he's had a very topsy-turvy career so far. Very interesting one, obviously starting at the Barcelona academy. The most prestigious in the world, coming to Aston Villa as an unproven youngster, not doing so well there. Going to Middlesbrough and finally finding his feet under the Tony Pulis. And then he came to Wolves for a decent amount of money. Struggled a bit in his first season, but this season he's shown that, the biggest thing with him before is that, he's got this pace, got the power, got the skill, but he hasn't got the end product. I think he's really worked on that side of his game, and he's putting up numbers now for Wolves.
Mm-hmm. No, that's another very creditable idea. Devon, I'll go to you next.
Yeah. First of all, I just want to mention anytime Harry mentions Southampton, it's fine. He's even picked Bournemouth as one of his flops and Ryan Fraser. But whenever I mention Sheffield Wednesday, I get rinsed for it. Anyway, that's rant over. I did in fact have a Southampton mention. It wasn't Danny Ings. It was Hasenhüttl's turnaround. From where they were, we've not mentioned that game yet, and I'm not going to do it yet. I'm not going to do it at all, to be fair. But from that moment, not just then, that's probably the biggest remembrance of the season for Southampton. But even the defeat to West Ham when they were in the bottom three, they've turned it around and they've finished really strongly, and they're looking, towards the Europe rather than, oh God, we're going to struggle next season, which is what they had under Mark Hughes the other season. I've also got Alan St-Maximin. I think his impact on Newcastle, in a very negative Newcastle side, has been very good. I think there were a little bit of shouts from what Harry said when Joelinton came in, with the style of play that Alan St-Maximin is, player that he is, that he would flop, but I think he's had a very good season. I've also got a very outside mention for Wigan under Paul Cook. I think he got on firing in towards that end. It was just a shame that it ended in relegation, because otherwise it had been a very good turnaround and a surprise that they managed to get out of it. But I've gone for probably the most generic one, and I think that everyone's going to say, and just going to hide this badge for a second. I think you can't look past Chris Wilder's Sheffield United side. The highest ever league finish for Sheffield United. Most successful promoted side in the Premier League era. They were written off at the start of the season, and they've come here with an exciting brand of football. No one's seen it before. Overlapping centre halves. It's been a magical season for a lot of my friends that are that side of the city.
I'm sure you're delighted for them.
Oh, it sounds as if you admire them, Devon.
And I think because of that rise from especially the League One days, I remember us laughing at them, and when they were 6 years in a massive rut, and they were even under Nigel Clough and Adkins, they looked like they could even go down to League Two at one point. But they've sorted the backroom stuff out. McCabe's gone now, which is probably a positive impact. And if it weren't for Klopp, I think Chris Wilder would be taking that Manager of the Year award home. And putting it next to his other Manager of the Year awards for previous seasons with their rise.
And we can't even stop him talking about them, typical. Yeah, I was waiting for someone to mention Sheffield United. I also had St. Maximin written down. Another player potentially is Christian Pulisic. I think he came in and not many people knew too much about him, but I think he has been Chelsea's star man. Chelsea, as well as a team, you could probably bring into it, making the top four after losing Hazard. And another team in the Championship, Swansea City. They lost Graham Potter, Dan James, and Ollie McBurney last year. Some really influential figures, but they did really well to finish inside the playoffs, albeit at Nottingham Forest expense, when they should never have missed out. Sorry, that was a lot of words in a short period. I'm keen to move on. Who do we think? Do we think Sheffield United are kind of the standouts for this? Are we happy with that?
Yeah, I think so.
Danny Ings a close second.
Yeah, no, I would.
That was a good shout, but he didn't prepare the notes, so he shouldn't win that. I think Sheffield United's going to be the generic choice of everyone that does these kind of awards, and especially the pundits. It's going to be interesting next season to see if they can replicate that. I think in terms of personnel, they need to now take that next step from high, maybe a couple of high-end Championship players, but they need to really solidify that Sheffield that Premier League place. Kind of do what Southampton did, mix good young players with some experience, and then it'll all come together. Unfortunately.
Yeah, so we will move on now to an award that I'm calling the biggest choke job. This can be a team from any league. I've got a few written down. I think there's a few contenders, actually, so I'll go to Devon first on this one.
Well, we've mentioned them a couple of times, but I just cannot see, from one, the momentum they built, two, the gift that they was given twice to go up. I think this one goes to Brentford, because Jesus, they should be a Premier League side right now with the style of football that they were playing. Stoke, albeit they were revitalised under Michael O'Neill and going good at that point. They lost to them, which were a big hit, and then they lost 2-1 to Barnsley, which as a Sheffield Wednesday fan, it kept them up. But they shouldn't have lost them last two games with the kind of run that they were on. They'd done it all. They'd beat Fulham. They were blowing teams out of the water. They even overcome Preston, who was still in shout for playoffs. But not just that. I think that playoff final as well. There was a chance for them to really go at it, and I think they kind of realised what was at stake, and kind of they were too much at stake, if you want to say, and they kind of shadowed into a corner and let Fulham. I don't think either side were wanting to go up at one point. I think they were too nervous to either play the normal style of football, and when you're in that situation, Fulham, due to experience of previous playoff finals and the kind of players they've got in the squad, players like Harry Arter, that's why they went up. And I think the whole situation with Brentford is that they should be a Premier League side, and they've completely bottled it. If this were Leeds, we'd all be singing it to the high heavens, I think.
Yeah, I think a lot of people were disappointed that Brentford didn't make it. They wanted to see a new team in the Premier League, but at the end of the day, if you can't see out big matches, then it shows there's something not quite right in that team. That's what I think anyway. I actually am going to nominate Hull City for this one. I think the fact that they were 1 point off the playoffs on New Year's Day, but somehow finished the season bottom and finished it 4 points
tragic.
Safety was just. I don't think I've ever seen a collapse quite like it, to be honest. But to be fair, a lot of their fans saw it coming after the sales of Bowen and Grzycki, and I know they had other problems too. But I think how that was allowed to happen is crazy. We'll go to Harry next.
I had a couple of shouts. I had the more obvious ones of Notts Forest because they were in the playoffs for almost over half the season. Even in 2019, they were in the playoffs, and then they lost it somehow on the final day of the season, losing 4-1. Leicester City, for similar reasons, they're in the top four for almost all of the season and bottled it. But for me, I'm probably going to go for Watford. You know, they went through 4 managers. They finally got the right one in Nigel Pearson. He brought them from, I think, 7 points adrift into the right places. They played against West Ham to basically stay up. They lost that game after, West Ham had a very poor season, but completely dominated. They sacked Nigel Pearson, and then they lost their next 2 games. So for me, it's either going to be Watford or it's going to be the Watford boards. Just for overall, they didn't really deserve to stay up. And even when they were given the chance, they blew it. So I'm going to go for a bit of an outside one and go for Watford.
Yeah, and we've got a focus on Watford coming up in the big quiz at the end. And Sam, who do you think should?
Yeah, Harry have mentioned them. It's Notts Forest for me. just for that final day alone. I mean, there's other things. Obviously, the run leading up to that, winless in 5, heading into the final day, only 3 points picked up from a possible 18, final 18, and just a 6-goal swing on the final day. Nobody was talking about that race when we were going into it. It's going to be a very entertaining final day. Nobody was talking about who's going to get Forest place. It held for so long in the top 6 for 207 days on the final day. Completely lost their bottle.
And go on, Dev.
I've got a couple that I were going to go more into detail and actually have them. But I weren't sure whether this would fit the criteria. I've got VAR, EFL, and FFP for their roles this season. I think VAR had the potential to be very good, and it's completely, they could be a contention for flop of the season. But, I think the EFL as well, they choked a couple of times with the Wigan situation. Not just the situation of the 12 points deducted, because I think it is a rule, and rules have to be stuck by. But the fact that they allowed that deal to be ratified, just go through without any complications or anything, it's straight. Especially with how we've seen the Premier League act over the Newcastle deal.
Yeah,
they just let the Wigan one. I know Dave Kenwright got them. Wait, no, that's not right. Is it Dave Whelan? I'm thinking Bill Kenwright.
Yeah.
Dave Whelan, made Wigan sustainable and a healthy club, but they wanted to take that next level. They've kind of just let the whole deal go straight through, and Wigan are now ultimately in ruins. And I think not just that as well. I think the whole Charlton situation also epitomises the AFL's policy towards takeovers, and I think FFP with the whole City situation. We've spoke at length of that before.
Yeah, it's a fair old mess. We also didn't mention Leicester City, who were, of course, in the top 4 throughout the season, and then they blew it at the end. So let's come to a decision on this one. To be out of the ones mentioned, there's so many. It's so difficult to decide, isn't it?
In the Championship alone.
I'm kind of thinking Nottingham Forest. I think we've mentioned in previous weeks how that was allowed to happen. I don't know, but I don't know. What are you thinking?
I've never seen something. Well. Yeah, I've never seen something like that on that scale in like one game, like losing it that badly.
Yeah, even on the final day after that bad run, they still had a chance and they still blew it. So I think we'll go with that if that works for you as well, Harry.
Yeah, that's cool.
It's not even the fact that it was the 6-goal swing. All they needed to do was draw or be really stern and not let Stoke anywhere near the goal. And they just, even when they pulled it back to 1-1, you'd think, they're probably going to get a bit of momentum now, be able to see this through. But no, they completely crumbled.
We're going to move on to one now, which is called Worst VAR Call. Now, before we give the nominations, there have been dozens of these this year that could be argued against. So hopefully you've all had a chance to pick one specifically, and I just want that one nomination. In terms of coming to an agreement, it's difficult because, as I said, there are so many. But just point out one which was terrible in your eyes. I'll start with Devon.
Yeah. So, are you wanting a little quick explanation of it?
Yeah, just a quick.
Right. Okay. So, I've gone for Arsenal 2, Crystal Palace 2. The goal that would have seen Arsenal win, and it affected the end table massively. We've seen how tight it was. But, it were a scramble in the area. Ball pops out to Socrates and he fires it home. Arsenal think they've won it. And then VAR comes in and, gives a free kick to Crystal Palace. And on the replay, it shows that, James is sandwiched between two players. If anything, it looks like he's the one that's being fouled from behind. But then the ball kind of bobbles around between players' feet. Mm-hmm. He stabs at it, which he gets the ball anyway, but he catches Joel Ward, I think, slightly, and he goes down. And that's what the foul was given for. And it wasn't a foul at all. And I'm still baffled to this day. I saw it live, and I think not live in the flesh, but on TV, and I'm still baffled to how it was given as a foul.
Yeah. I think we've been baffled by a few of those, but it's definitely up there when I was having a look through last night. Sam, what are you thinking for this?
Purely because of the magnitude of it. Biggest game of the season, Liverpool v Man City at Anfield. Trent Alexander-Arnold clearly handles the ball in his own area. Nothing given. Liverpool go at the other end and score, make it 1-0, and that completely turns the tide of the game, the tide of the title race. And it's one of those decisions where they've appointed Michael Oliver as the on-field referee. That's such a huge decision. He has to make the final decision on that. That has to go to the screen. I don't see why decisions like that haven't gone to the screen this season, because to me it was clear. A little chipped ball comes up to his arm. He's clearly making his body bigger to block the ball. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, I had a feeling that one was going to come up. Harry, which are you going to nominate?
I was dicing between 2 or 3, but in the end, I'm going to go for Mamadou Sakho against Aston Villa. It's 0-0 at the time. Ball comes into the box. He shoulders the ball into the net. So for some reason, they give it as handball. It goes from 1-0 to 0-0. Aston Villa win the game and they go and stay out. Aston Villa got very lucky on a few occasions, and that's certainly one of them. Like Devon and Sam's, things changed the complexion of the league completely, and that did, because that gave them a vital win in the end.
Yeah, one team who didn't have a lot of luck with VAR. Not that I'm using this as an excuse for our relegation. We deserve to go down, but Norwich City didn't have any luck with VAR. The worst one was in the game against Spurs back in December. Mario Vrancic sent the ball over the top. Pukki ran onto it and put it away, and VAR chalked it off for offside. And if you're watching this and you're listening to this and you haven't seen it, then go and YouTube it, because it's one of those where
the toenail.
I don't even know if it was a toenail, to be honest. So I've seen so many pictures of it where it's just baffling how they picked that out as offside. What made it worse for me was that Pukki actually put so much work in to get himself onside, and yet he gets punished and it gets taken away, and that would have made it 2-0 in the game. We ended up losing it. You can tell I still haven't got over it, but
that call is gone.
That's why
we'll have more of them next season, because I believe the Premier League went to FIFA to say we need thicker lines for offside. To get rid of those extremely tight ones, and FIFA rejected it.
So which one are we going to go for? Personally, after hearing all of them, while I really hated seeing that Pukki goal being disallowed, I'm leaning towards the Alexander-Arnold incident.
I think that was the moment where Liverpool's dominance was pretty much, the league seemed to be confirmed, because I think if they lost it, they'd have knocked a bit like when last season, when I think they drew 2 games against West Ham and another team, and it kind of knocked them, and that's when City again came and overtook them, and that's why the league was so tight on points last year. And I think that would have changed the complex of the league completely if City had gone and took the lead and possibly have beat Liverpool then. But it was just such a strange, because it's not even like, there is a case for some offsides, well, if you're offside, you're offside, whether you're seeking to gain an advantage or not, or like the foul on this one, which was completely not a foul, but I think
it highlights
that City one.
It highlights my main issue with VAR, and that it's it's taking the big decisions out of the referee's hands. Like it has to be Michael Oliver's say for that one.
Mm-hmm. But as we said, with that award, it really could go to so many different incidents. With the goal of the season as well, there are also so many goals which could be up for this. But I just want very quickly which one you're going for, and we'll try and whittle through these quickly because we are aware we don't want to give you too long a clip to watch for this. So, Sam, your goal of the season?
I believe it actually has been just given goal of the season. It's Heung-min Son against Burnley.
Mm-hmm.
Picks up the ball from well inside his own half, pretty much on the edge of his own box, and just glides past the whole Burnley team. So satisfying to watch, like they're not even there. And that's my pick.
Yeah, Harry, what are you thinking?
I'm going to go biased, and I'm going to say Chad Adams' his first goal of the season. 39 yards. He bends one over Edison for his first goal in 28 fixtures. Brings out his momentum, the confidence, despite the fact he's been on a massive goal drought. I didn't want to go biased, but I can't think of another suitable option, so I'm going to go for Che Adams.
Devon?
I've gone for. I'll try and keep it quick. Ball's coming from a City player, I can't remember. It's headed out by Dummett. Kevin De Bruyne chests it up and just completely just volleys it into the top corner. Dubravka's on that side as well. It looks like it would just hit so well that even Dubravka had no chance, even with the advantage of him being already there. So I think De Bruyne versus Newcastle's my pick.
I had that one written down too, but I actually think that another De Bruyne goal should be worthy of it, and that was his goal at the Emirates against Arsenal. I think a few of us were in the sports bar to watch this one. Actually, it was another one where the boys cleared out to him, and he came onto it first time with the side of his foot, and he found the roof of the net. It was a brilliant hit.
Yeah.
I think this one's really difficult to find a decisive winner, but we've had 2 nominations for De Bruyne, so maybe if you're watching, and we admire you greatly. We've got just a couple more now. This one is called Most Entertaining Pundit to Watch. Again, there's a few who I think could be up for grabs here. I'm going to start it off, and I'm going to say this isn't a sole pundit, it's a duo. This is probably a really cliched one, but Neville and Carragher, I think, for entertainment value as well as quality of analysis, it's hard to find anyone better. But I'm interested to hear who you are thinking, and I'll start with Devon.
I think there's only one that's emerged in the last couple of weeks towards the end of the season. I think Micah Richards has been absolutely brilliant just to watch his charisma and not just the way obviously he laughs at everything, but he just brings like a smile to your face when you watch him. And even it's not just like like we've mentioned Ian Wright on Match of the Day brings kind of an entertainment value with he's funny, he's light-hearted, and he brings a smile to your face. But Micah Richards has got the analysis side of it, and he brings up some very good points, but also makes watching Match of the Day and whenever he's on Sky more entertaining.
A bit of diversity to the Sky Sports panel as well, which there isn't much, let's be honest.
Do you agree, Sam? Do you think Michael Richards?
I do as well. I've got to mention Roy Keane as well, because his rants are just TV gold.
Mm-hmm.
And
Harry, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I was going to say Michael Richards as well.
There we go. So I can't argue with it, to be honest. I think, like you've already said, he is a breath of fresh air, and you could watch him all day. I do think him and Keane as a duo work quite well because they're complete opposites, aren't they? But I think they quite all the same. This one is a very different one. As we said, we're going to call it Worst Take by a Pundit. So the worst piece of analysis. What are they talking about is what we're going with for this. I'm going to go to Sam first on this one.
It's Mr. G Nev, believe it or not, with this take at the start of this season. I'll just tell you his quote. I can guarantee you clear as day Manchester United will win again. They'll probably win the league before Liverpool, in my opinion. And that's not being disrespectful. They'll probably win the league before Liverpool. There you go. No explanation needed.
Any Liverpool fans watching, if we haven't given them much coverage in previous weeks, they'll be loving that, Sam. Harry, have you got any other suggestions for this?
When Roy Keane said that he's never rated David De Gea and that he's always been overrated, despite the fact that De Gea won 3 back-to-back Fan Player of the Year awards, and last season, the season before last, kept 11 goals out less than XG sort of expected. So saying that he's never rated De Gea and he's overrated is one of the biggest load of not very good words I've ever heard.
was that after the Tottenham game?
I think so.
Said he'd fight him.
Yeah, it was either that one or it was before. I think it was another mistake he made as well a few weeks later. I think it was after that one. I'm trying to think.
I am also thinking that Tottenham game. I think that was kind of treated like Marmite. Some people really liked that he was really angry about it. I personally thought it was totally over the top, as you said. And Man United obviously went on to prove him wrong. They really should have won that night because they were well on top in the second half. Ended up being a draw, of course. Devon, did you say you got something related to Martin Tyler?
Yeah.
Fair.
I've just realised, we're talking about pundits rather than commentators. I think the annoyance every time Martin Tyler's on, he just says, and it's live. The first couple of times is fine, and now it's just kind of become that same cliche that just does my head in every time that we're watching Sky. It makes me just want to turn the TV off, maybe go and watch netball or something, because I absolutely hate the phrase. The other, if we're talking about worst takes on pundits, I haven't really been able to find much in terms of quotes, but I think the whole hammering from Graham Souness of Paul Pogba has just become really more of a joke than actual serious analysis.
No, I think that's a very good point. In terms of picking a winner, do we want to find one, or is it difficult on this?
I think I like Sam's the Neville one because
Neville's is pretty bad.
Yeah, I'm happy.
I don't know where that came from, to be honest.
I think
he's usually pretty good with, he's not afraid to slate Man United, but they're consensus a bit of bias there.
Yeah, I think it was very, very strange of him, like you said, and I'm happy for it to go to him. Finally, then, before we move on to the quiz, we will quickly discuss the best game to watch of last season, the one that you enjoyed the most. And there's, again, several up for grabs, and I'll go to Sam first on this one.
Sheffield United 3, Man United 3. I think it had it all. 6 goals. Sheffield United going up 2-0, Man United coming back 3-2, and then a late equaliser by Sheffield United. A long drawn-out VAR check for that equaliser, that Ollie McBurney equaliser. It had it all.
Harry, your reaction? Have you got that one written down as well?
Yeah, I was in the kitchen making the tomatoes and pasta, seeing it all just unfold in front of me. It was good for the United perspective. You had Brandon Williams, Rashford, and I believe Greenwood all scored to make the comeback. You think they've done it, and then Sam said they made it 3-3. So that was my game of the season as well.
Devon, what about yourself?
That pains me to say. I remember watching that live. I think we all went to Walkabout, and I think they were only me and Brad cheering when Man United went 3-2, and everyone in pub were cheering when Sheffield United brought it back. But I've gone through. I want to say it was Boxing Day, but it was the first time I watched football on Amazon Prime. Wolves 3, Manchester City 2. Probably the second time Manchester City will get mentioned on this particular topic, from what George has probably got in his locker. It was a chaotic game. You had, Edison got sent off for his foul on Jota. Then Mahrez got the softest of penalties. Sterling misses the penalty. A good save from Patricio. It gets retaken for encroachment. Patricio saves again, but Sterling nets the rebound and then gets his second in the second half. Man City 2-0 up, and then Wolves just switched. Traore finally woke up, became a menace, scored that long-range effort. Then he bullied Mendy off the ball when he tried to shield it out and set up Jimenez. And then that winner from Doherty just to do the 1-2 with Jimenez and finish off where it was just a very entertaining game of football to watch.
Yeah, I hadn't actually had that one written down, but I think it's definitely up there. That really was a brilliant game. And as you predicted, I do have
West Ham 3, Brighton 3. Thank you, George.
Man City's first 3-2 defeat of the season to Norwich back in September. But I think just the stuff which happened before this game made it so much of a good result. Norwich had so many injury troubles. I think we had 2 goalkeepers on the bench that night. So much. 2 goalkeepers on the bench because we just didn't have enough players to fill it. There was Ibrahim Amadou playing out of position. I don't think he was the only one, to be honest. Adding in the fact that Man City, their last league defeat came back in January 2019. It was an incredible night and a brilliant atmosphere. Before we make a decision, I do also want to mention Liverpool 2, Atletico Madrid 3. This was another one. I was in the sports bar with Harry and Sam for this one. It was packed to the rafters. Arguably, it shouldn't have been packed to the rafters because this was when they were saying COVID was spreading. But the period of extra time was just crazy. Maybe I'm thinking this game because I wanted Liverpool to lose that night. But the atmosphere in that sport...
You're the only one celebrating, I think.
We were mainly, but...
Back to Liverpool.
There's so many games. Again, it's really difficult, isn't it? But I think a couple of you said that Sheffield United 3, Man United 3. So we will go with that one.
It was the epitome of an entertaining game, I have to admit, sadly.
So that is all of our awards given out. It's been maybe taken longer than we expected, but I enjoyed looking back. I think we've had a lot of good suggestions there. If you're watching and you think we've totally missed someone out for any of the awards, please let us know where we went wrong if you fancy it. But it is time now for the final episode.
I'm just going to try to find my pen.
Final episode, final round of the quiz. And we are doing 10 questions this week. We want to make it a big round. It is still all up for grabs. After 22 rounds, Sam is leading on 65. Harry in second on 63. Devon on 60. Get those notepads ready. I've split it into 2 sections this week. The first section.
Nerve-wracking.
You may have seen, if you're watching this, that the Athletic, Adam Leventhal of the Athletic, reported last night that Watford are set to announce the Serbian Vladimir Ivic as their new manager. So the first round is on people who have managed Watford.
Listen,
it's quite
so
neat.
many of them.
We're going with it because I was struggling around. So question 1 of this round: which 2 Premier League clubs did Marco Silva manage either side of his time at Vicarage Road? So there's 2 Premier League clubs. So there's only 1 point available for this one because I think it's relatively easy. Question number 2. At which club did Nigel Pearson begin his managerial career? I should say it's not a Premier League club. And I'll give you a clue. He was there from 1998 to 99. Is that a clue? I don't know. Probably not.
My head is in the sand.
Absolute ostrich.
Another clue is that while he was there was quite a historic moment in Football League history. That's my final clue. Which his team achieved. I'm gonna move on because I
no idea.
Move on now to question number 3, which is: who was Watford's last permanent English manager prior to Nigel Pearson?
Let's see.
Devon reckons he knows that one.
Yeah.
Trying to think.
I've got an inkling.
I shall move on to question number 4. Watford spent 5 years in the Premier League from 2015 to this year, 2020. How many different permanent managers did they have across that period of time? I will give you a hint.
Get the fingers out.
If someone had multiple spells in charge, so there might be someone you're thinking of, they count for however many they had. So if they had 2, then that counts for 2 managers.
All right, okay.
Right, 38, 39.
What I will say is, when I was checking this, it's less than I thought it would be. There's another clue, because I don't want this to be low scoring. I kind of want there to be a big clash.
I still don't know what to put for number 2. I mean, 4 is a complete guess, but I don't know what to put for 2. I'm going with.
I think I'm way out on this, but.
Okay, question 5. Slavisa Jokanovic won promotion with Watford in the 2014 to 15 season, but left the club before the start of the next campaign. But the question is, which London club did Jokanovic represent as a player?
Oh,
it's a player.
I was just about to write about it. I thought you were going to say which London club did he manage after.
So this London club was the only English club he played for. Maybe this is too difficult. The way you're reacting to these.
We need the music behind it. We need the music. It psychs people up, you know.
Clearly, it really was too niche for the category. But take a guess. I've said London clubs. So how many?
Lots of those London clubs.
London clubs are there? We will do all 10 questions before we mark them, just to build the suspense a bit more. So we will move on now to the second section, which is based on awards. We've done the whole episode this week giving out our awards, but here is some history of some awards. Question 1. Since the PFA Players Player of the Year award began in 1974, 5 players have won it more than once. How many of them can you name?
George!
So there are 5 points available. I'm actually going to give you about a minute on this one. If you need less than that, then let me know. But there are 5 points available. Maybe you need less than a minute, but just have a go. You're unlikely to get all 5, but well, maybe you're not. I don't know.
There's a lot that it could be there. That's the thing.
Yeah, there is. It's a bit. I've made it way too hard.
No, it's a good one. It's a good question.
It's a good one, George. It's a very good one. And we say 1974 it started.
Yeah, 74 it started.
Oh dear.
One of the players is someone who none of us will have seen as a player, but we did see him as a manager.
Oh.
It could be so many people.
And I say we did see him as a manager. He's not dead. Like, he could still manage the
Jeez.
It could have been killed.
I'm going to move on because it's been a minute. When was the last time a Man United player won the award? I'm looking for the season that they won it. When was the last time a Man United player won the award? And I'll give a bonus point if you can name that player. But you've got to get the year right to qualify for the.
Georgeson.
Georgeson.
Oh no, I'm trying to think. It'd be. I'm
sweating right through this t-shirt. Blimey.
Oh no, because that was. No, that would. No, I'm going to change. No, yeah, I'm going to change it.
In fact, actually.
Okay, I'm going to move on now. Question 3. This might be a bit easier. Who won the Golden Ball Award, so player of the tournament, at the 2014 World Cup?
Golden Ball.
Yeah, you'll seem a bit more confident on that one. Okay, question number 4 of this round. Can you name the only 2 English managers to have won the Premier League Manager of the Season award? There are 2 points available. I will say this is the Premier League Manager of the Year, not the LMA award, which can be any manager in any league. So it's solely Premier League.
Premier League English manager.
Both of these managers won it in our lifetime. It's strange that there's only 2, isn't it? It's baffling, but I suppose Fergie. I think Fergie won it 11 times. I was reading.
Did win it a lot.
I think I'm struggling to just get general English managers at the minute.
Did he have a good enough season?
There's that many people that can qualify for Wales and Northern Ireland. So.
That's true. Like, there's a couple that I'm thinking, were they English or were they?
Okay, I'm going to move on. Question number 5, the final question. In which year did Michael Owen win the Ballon d'Or?
Oh, that was.
He was very young. Which year was it?
This could be my undoing, you know. There's a lot I'm not sure about, yeah.
Well, as I said earlier, there are 16 points available, and Sam's lead over Harry is only 2 points. Still up for grabs. Okay, hopefully you've got 10 answers there, or 10 answers, but there might be multiple on a few of them. I'm going to go back to the start. We're going to go through these now, and we will hopefully find a winner. Which 2 Premier League clubs did Marco Silva manage either side of his time at Vicarage Road? Start with Harry.
I put Everton and Hull City.
Harry's gone with Everton and Hull City. Sam?
Same here.
Yeah, good start. And Devon? Sorry, I think I said
I've
that.
gone for Everton and Hull City, or Hull City and Everton.
I
If
should
you wanted the specific order.
start before Devon had revealed his, but I was so confident that you all had it. So, yeah, it was Hull and Everton. At which club did Nigel Pearson begin his managerial career? I'll start with Devon on this one.
Purely the fact is, I think he went back to Hull City when he left Leicester. So I think I put Hull City.
Hull City. Please don't be Hull City.
Hull. Sam?
Complete guess, Rotherham.
Rotherham.
That's so strange. Because
You went Rotherham as
I
well.
put Rotherham as well.
I originally put Barnsley down.
I was thinking Hull.
I can tell you, none of you are right.
Damn it.
Okay.
It was Carlisle United.
No, I wouldn't have got that.
It was the Jimmy Pass moment is the one I'm thinking of.
I watched that other day as well.
The goalkeeper who scored the goal to keep them up. Question number 3. Who was Watford's last permanent English manager prior to Nigel Pearson? I'll go to Sam first.
Sean Dyche.
Sam's gone with Sean Dyche. Harry?
I've once again done the same. Sean Dyche.
Harry's got Sean Dyche too. And Devon?
And we're all correct with Sean Dyche.
You are all correct with Sean Dyche.
Confidence there.
It's a stalemate at the moment.
Yep.
The intensity is building.
This is where I'm...
It's definitely going to change there.
Watford spent 5 years in the Premier League from 2015 to 2020. But how many different permanent managers did they have across that period of time? So I'm looking for a number, and I'll start with Harry here.
I'm going to have 11. I'm not
Harry's
so sure.
gone with 11. Sam?
I went lower. I went 7.
Ooh.
Sam has gone with 7. And Devon?
Slap bang in the middle with 9.
9. I did tell you that it was lower than I thought it was, and I think you'll be surprised to hear that it was 6.
Ooh.
So Sam,
Are you doing closest?
I'm not going to give a closest point.
Oh, controversial.
I think it's a small.
Okay.
You could have
I
counted.
accept.
Right, okay, go on.
I'm a humble
So
champion.
the 6 are Kike Sanchez Flores, Walter Mazzari, Marco Silva, Javi Gracia, Kiko Sanchez Flores again, and then of course Nigel Pearson. So 6. You would think there were more given the number of sackings, wouldn't you? But it was only 6. And the final question on Watford: Slaviza Jokanovic won promotion with them to the Premier League, but left before he was able to give it a go. Which London club did Jokanovic represent as a player? Starting with Devon on this one.
I've gone for West Ham.
Devon's gone for West Ham. Harry?
I went Chelsea.
Harry went with Chelsea. And Sam?
I went Charlton.
Sam went with Charlton. One of you is correct, and it's Harry. So he closes.
Oh no!
Flipping heck.
Harry takes the lead. So Chelsea from 2000 to 2002. Second section. Then there are 5 questions left, and it's still very tight. Since the PFA Players Player of the Year award began in 1974, 5 players have won the award more than once. How many of them can you name? So there are 5 points available. This is a big question. Take your time when you let me know, because I don't want to miss one off and misscore it. So I'll start with Sam here.
Mark Hughes, Ryan Giggs, Lampard, Gerrard, and Shearer.
Okay. And I'll move on now to Devon.
Right, okay. I think that's a good shout for Hughes. I've got Shearer, Suarez, Rooney, Henry, and Lampard.
Henry.
Okay.
Damn it.
And I'll move on now to Harry.
Yeah, I went a bit more modern. I went Hazard, Lampard, Ronaldo, Rooney, and Zola.
Okay.
I please don't say
Henry.
Ferdinand.
So,
Les Ferdinand and cross him out.
The 5 are Mark Hughes.
Yes.
Alan Shearer.
Yes.
Thierry Henry.
Damn it.
Yes.
I knew he'd be one.
Cristiano Ronaldo.
Damn it, I crossed Ronaldo out.
And Gareth Bale. So
Bale.
Harry got 1 point, which means he's now back to 2 behind Sam. Sam got 2 and Devon got 2. So good effort. So there were some good players in there. I'm pretty sure all of the players you mentioned have probably won it once. I'm not sure.
I
crossed Ronaldo out for Hughes.
But yeah, good effort. When was the last time a Man United player won the award? And I'm looking for the season that it was won. And there is a bonus point if you can get it right. So I'll start with Harry on this one.
I put 12-13 Robin Van Persie.
Okay, and Devon.
I were going to put RVP, but I've decided to go for Man United's probably best title win. 2008-2009, Cristiano Ronaldo, 31 goals.
And I will go to Sam.
I had a sneaky feeling Giggs won it like late on, 9-10. I think it might be RVP.
You said 9-10, Sam, didn't you?
Yeah.
I think so, was right.
You would be right with 2009 to 10.
Is it Giggs?
It wasn't Ryan Giggs, it was Wayne Rooney. But that's impressive to get 9 to 10 because United didn't win the league that year, of course, but Rooney got the award. Question number 3. I'm very conscious of time. I apologise to those of you watching. This is longer than usual, but we had to have a longer.
It's the final episode.
So you'll have loads of time to watch it, so enjoy it while you can. Question number 3. Who won the Golden Ball Award at the 2014 World Cup? Devon, who have you gone with?
I've gone for James Rodriguez.
Devon's gone for James Rodriguez. Harry,
James Rodriguez.
you've gone for Rodriguez as well. And Sam.
I went Leo Messi.
Sam's gone with Lionel Messi. And he's absolutely right. That is a massive.
I remember it. I remember it. I remember him picking it up and being really sad.
Oh yeah, damn it!
I don't know if he can be caught now, Sam, but we will carry him. Rodriguez was the Golden Boot. Question number 4: can you name the only 2 English managers to have won the Premier League Manager of the Season award? And I will go to Harry on this one.
I put Roy Hodgson and Alan Pardew.
Roy Hodgson and Alan.
So I think you got it with Fulham.
Pardew. Devon?
Yeah, I will and ahhing between my second choice and Roy Hodgson. But I've gone for Brian Robson and Harry Redknapp.
Okay. And Sam, what have you gone with?
I went Redknapp and Allardyce.
Redknapp and Allardyce. I can tell you that all of you got 1 point on this one. It was 2 managers who both managed Southampton in their career. None of them won it while they were at Southampton, but it was Harry Redknapp in 2009 to 2010 and Alan Pardew at Crystal Palace. Roy Hodgson never won it.
Right. I weren't even sure if Brian Robson were English or not, if you couldn't remember. But I thought he might have got it for when he the Great Escape with West Brom.
I'm not too sure, to be honest. In which year did Michael Owen win the Ballon d'Or? Which calendar year was this? And Sam, I think you've won it, so I will let you go first on the final question.
I went 2001.
Sam went with 2001. Harry?
Oh, it was 1998.
1998. And Devon?
I've also gone for 1998, but I think it might be too early.
And I said he's probably won it, and he has finished it with a flourish. It was in
my goodness,
2001. So just let me total these up for sure. But it wasn't the tense finish that we may be expecting. Sam has definitely.
Sam, I'll give you an elbow, so well done.
Sir.
Harry's missed out now. You missed your chance.
I'm sorry.
He's got aired on the podcast.
Worthy competition, Harry.
He's not said it to Dev. That's outrageous.
So,
he's completely missed out Devon in the worthy competition. Take back the elbow.
You were on top for so long. That's why I said it.
I Liverpooled it. I completely Liverpooled it.
And a total of 120 questions asked. I have the final scores, and they are Devon in third on 65, Harry in second on 68, and Sam Allen on 73. Sam Allen is the inaugural winner of the Fourmation quiz. Congratulations to you, Sam. Fully deserved. You pulled
from the bottom. Now we're here.
All that counts is who were top after the first radio show.
But no, I've really enjoyed making those every week.
Yeah.
Well done, George.
Yeah.
Hopefully we'll do something similar when we start up again, but we will see. Maybe we'll mix it up a little bit. As I said there, it's been a longer episode than normal. We're verging on 90 minutes now, but the football is drying up now. We know you've got Champions League, but you've got a 90-minute episode of this to watch to fill your evenings. Yeah, that is pretty much all we have to say.
It won't be long before we're back.
Yeah, it won't be long before we're back.
Couple of weeks.
Take a quick break. As we said, let us know what you think we should add in for the next series. But that's all from us for now, and we will see you next time. Thank you very much.
Bye.
See you later.